as you produce your product, packaging is very important. There are different types of packaging. There is packaging for retail, there is packaging for the end consumer, but they all come under the umbrella of packaging. So under the Retail Readiness Program, you really want to know how many of your products goes into a carton, how is it going to be packaged for shipping, how is it going to be packaged for distribution, how is it going to be packaged for retail. All of these things you have to consider. The product itself, the look and feel, is mainly for the it's mainly for the customer, but there are also other packaging items that you have to think about that is more for the supply chain versus just the end consumer. Think about your customer experience as they're touching your product, as they're smelling it. If it's something that like a skincare product like we have, you really want to make sure that this is something that your customers would love and fall in love with. Now, when you have the product that you've decided you want to export, you have to consider what distribution channel would you use to get this product out. There are several options out there depending on the product, depending on the volume, and we would like to share a few of that with you. First, you have direct to customer. You have a product that is already in its finished form and ready to be distributed to the customer. You are skipping the typical wholesale retail chain. And today with e-commerce, you really can deliver directly to the customer. So that is one approach. There's also several B2B opportunities. You can actually sell your product to a distributor. This distributor will then buy from you in bulk and be responsible for distributing it. And at that point, you don't have to worry. You can also work directly with a retailer and sell your product into the retail chain. The retailer probably has stores or a digital platform where customers already buy from. What you would then do is to present your product to the buyers, and then they would be able to work with you to see if that's a product they want to introduce to their own customers. There's also an opportunity where what you're exporting from Africa is actually a raw material into the manufacturing process. So we've seen that happen a lot with private brands where you are just supplying your raw materials. I know a lot of African countries are moving away from just raw to finished goods, but this is still an opportunity where you're just supplying raw materials to manufacturers. One thing you should also explore is working with third-party agents like Nazaru in terms of helping to distribute your product, helping you to find buyers, helping you to find off-takers for your product or commodity. If you're interested in that, do email us right now at info@nazaru.com. As you begin to grow your export business, you have to think about how scalable is your operation. These are factors affecting Africa's exporters today. 1. Capacity to produce global volumes. 2. Ability to meet global quality requirements for individual product categories. 3. Value chain management. So let's try to explain. In the international markets, buyers are looking for volume. They want to work with as few suppliers as possible. But in Africa, they're finding they have to work with several suppliers before they can aggregate and get the volume that they are looking for. Through our platform, Trade with Africa Business Summit, this is one of the topics we always bring to the table, and we challenge the governments in Africa to consider helping to streamline this process when it comes to aggregating products. Ability to meet global quality standards. That remains a key item. Here at Nazaru, we're here to help Africa's exporters navigate the quality standards needed before they can import their products into the United States. You really do have to work with people that understand what is required to make this a success. Value chain management. What we mean by this is managing the end-to-end process from farm to the market. Several steps have to happen and has to be managed, and you want to make sure that the quality of the product throughout the value chain is maintained, because throughout that chain, if it is not properly managed, things could go wrong in that chain. So it is important to manage that, and this is one of the critical aspects that we want to encourage you not to outsource. You actually have to be accountable for everything happening in the production of your product. So how do you store your product? It is important to use the right facilities to store your product. For example, your product might require a temperature-controlled storage facility. This is so important in managing the quality of your product. Make sure before you export your product and complete the export documentation that you know which facility your product will be stored once it is cleared customs in the United States. Before you ship any product, make sure that you've made arrangements for where it's going to be stored. If that responsibility is on the buyer, make sure that that is also confirmed before you ship the product. In getting your product from the farm to your customer or from the farm to the shelf, there are various transportation requirements that you should consider. For example, if you're a manufacturer, look at the transportation cost from moving the product from your facility to the warehouse. You also want to look at the cost of transporting from the warehouse to the shipping port. The exporter and the importer, or the buyer and the seller, are negotiating. There's an opportunity to decide who is responsible for the shipping cost. That decision, sometimes it's the exporter, sometimes it's the importer, but whoever is responsible would have factored that cost into their product. When your product arrives into the United States, oftentimes it has to go to a warehouse first. Think about the transportation cost of moving it from the receiving or the port to your warehouse. And then finally, at the warehouse, when you do the pick, pack, ship processes, in trying to get it directly to the customer, there's also shipping expenses. All of this has to be considered as you're moving the product to your customer and as you're coming up with a product price. In international trade, trust is the most important currency. Make sure as you're embarking on this journey that your trade partners sees you as a trust partner. A lot of times when it comes to major transactions, trust is what enables the transaction to happen, because sometimes you've negotiated a payment term that means you're going to ship the product without receiving anything and then receive it back and then receive payments 30, 60 or 90 days after the product has already shipped. In that scenario, really, trust is key. We also want to encourage you to use various financial instruments as you are completing your transactions. This will allow you to properly keep record when you create your PO, when you create your invoices, or even as you document all of the payment agreements. Make sure everything is fully documented when you are completing your transaction. And with that, we've come to the end of the AGOA Export Training Program. We hope this has been extremely helpful to you. We are available for further questions. Do email us at info@nazaru.com.